Well, welcome back to Way of the Hunter. We're here on Aurora Shores. Wanted to do a little video on just some things that I've learned from playing the game. Just some novice tips, nothing earth-shattering, nothing that you may not already know, but hopefully, some of the tips are helpful to others and can help you improve your hunting. These are little things that I probably didn't quite realize when I first started playing the game, and picked up from watching other hunting videos or from other content creators for Way of the Hunter, or just through experimenting and playing the game. Again, nothing earth-shattering, but if you find it helpful, that's great, and certainly appreciate your watching. So we'll get started. So in this tip, I want to talk about colors and making things a little bit easier to see. So the default colors here, you can see the hunter sense. When you have the hunter sense on, you get this golden color glowing along the ground. And your binoculars, they use this red color here to show the range, and your reticle in the middle of the screen. And to me, that was a little bit difficult to see, especially the red in certain environments. Like there, it's pretty good. But over here, it's, like against that background, or over here, it's a little bit difficult to see. You can change that and make it easier to see. The way to do that is go into your game controls, the menu, and go to the accessibility options. And top one here is color blindness preset. So right now it's set for default, and that's what I showed you. If you go all the way over to colors, there are some presets for different types of color blindness, and I'm not familiar with what each of these mean. If you go to custom, you can then change some of the options here. Under your binocular crosshair and distance measurement, changed it to white. And interactive objects and zones under hunter sense, I changed it to, I believe it was purple. And you'll see, in my opinion, it's certainly a lot easier to see. That's what it looks like with purple. And binocular reticle, I think, is much easier to see. There's a bunch of different colors that you can select and play around and see which ones you like, but that is how you can change these colors and maybe make things easier to see. There's a moose right in front of me. Adult female. I'm surprised we didn't spook her. Pure female. Adult male. Any others? Okay. And we walked right up on each other. Alright, so my next tip is using your hunter sense to find need zones. So, once you've adjusted your color and, it's easier to spot things, if you've made any adjustments to your colors. So what I would recommend, and here's an area of the map, I'm right here, and as you can see, there's this waterway running right up here that I have not covered yet. So you'll notice in a lot of these areas where I have a lot of the need zones uncovered, basically My suggestion is you start with water because all the animals are going to drink along these water passages here, and just run up and down the waterways with your hunter sense on and just mark all of the need zones as you go along the water. So I just walk, and you could walk at a decent pace. You don't have to crouch like I was crouched just then. You can walk at a normal speed and just walk up the waterway, your hunter sense on, some across the way here, and just as you're walking, just continually hit the E button, and you'll mark the zones as you go along. So I'm going to walk up this whole walkway, and I'm going to continue to hit the E button as I mark. I said walkway, but I mean waterway. And yeah, you can see the footprints in this color are really easy to see. And as you discover them, they'll show up on your map. But my recommendation is to do this when you start a new map. You want to try to identify as many need zones as you can early on, and it'll just make your hunts that much easier. So here's a black bear that was. There's different categories of need zones. So that was need zone for black bear, drinking, a drinking zone, and it shows the frequency. So in this instance, he comes here rarely, and then you'll see some need zones that say they visit that particular zone often. That was a black bear zone, so I'm going to go to the map, and you can use your filters to filter for specific animals. So that happened to be black bear. So here's the black bear in the area that where I am on the map, and hit the space bar to show the need zones. That's the need zone I just identified there. There's one here, and there's one here. This is likely the often, where they visit often, and I just identified the one where they visit rarely. And that's for this particular group of bears. So I'm going to continue up and mark all the need zones I can find. What we'll talk about now is finding other zones, the resting zones and the feeding zones. So right now we were in the black bear drinking zone area, and there's footprints here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the black bear prints. So these are going away from his need zone. See by the position where his toes are, he's moving in this direction. And so I'm going to follow him. And so what happens is he'll come and drink, and then he'll go off to feed or to rest after he's finished drinking. So I can follow him from his drinking zone. If you can find a path that leads away or toward the drinking zones, follow it away from the water. I'm going to see if I can find where he goes away from the water. Then that will lead you to resting zone or feeding zone. Here we go. So here's where he, it's like came down to the water from this direction. Let's follow path. And sometimes, you know, you have to look around a little bit if you lose the track, but here we go. And it looks like he came through here recently. Yeah, here we go. And he sounds like he's close by. You see him? Oh, look at that. Adult female. So let's continue to follow tracks. Go in this direction. Yeah, down here. This might be it right here. Here we go. So there's a resting zone right here. You're at the resting zone. So let's see. Where is this black bear? So before we continue, it looks like that's a resting zone for a different group of bears. I have a drink zone for this group of bears. I have a resting zone for this group of bears. So we're back in the area where we started following that bear. Those bear tracks, I should say. And here's drinking often. So this particular group of bears, we found their drinking zone, and we found that one of their resting zones. So we'll continue on. And here's a new discovery, bison. So here's a moose drinking zone. Bear eating. Alright, let's see. Here we go. So this black bear group, we've got their drinking zone, resting zone, the feeding zone. One of each. Now there'll be, I don't know if these are often or rare, but for each group there'll be 2 eating zones, 2 resting zones, and 2 drinking zones, and one will be rare and one will be often. So right now we've got one of each, and so from that, what's helpful is, let's say you decide you want to hunt bear. You want to hunt bear in this area, so you can find the need zones, see around the areas they are, and go to the encyclopedia and click on animals, and we're going to go to the American black bear, and so you can see they rest at midnight, they feed at 3 in the morning, they drink at 7, they rest again at 10, they feed at 3 o'clock. So going back to the map, you can determine what times be around these areas, or in between times they might be moving from their resting zone to their drinking zone, and probably one of the best things to do is catch them as they're moving from one zone to another, so that you don't put a lot of hunting pressure in a particular zone. So if you're hanging out around their drinking zone and you tend to hunt them at their drinking zone often, that may cause a lot of hunting pressure for the bear or other animals in this area, and they may not come back, or you may lose that zone. So try to predict if they're going to be feeding at a certain time, and they're going to be coming from resting to feeding, then you might want to predict that they're going from this direction to that direction, and be somewhere in the middle here and hunt them as they migrate by. So you're not hunting them in their zones. You don't want to put pressure on those zones and create a situation where they don't want to go back to those zones that they typically go to frequently. Now sometimes you'll have to follow a track pretty far. So this is a good example. I don't have a feeding zone, but I have a resting zone. This herd of elk. So they drink all the way over here. Yeah, as a matter of fact, this is the one that I think I was thinking about. So they drink all the way over here, and I followed their track all the way across this mountain range to this resting zone. It took a while, because it was a pretty good distance, and located this resting zone. And then I was trying to find a feeding zone in their other resting zone, And as I went back along the trail that I identified here, I was looking for a path that went off into another direction. And I did find one, but I never found it to its conclusion where the zone was. But that's one way to find those zones, is to just follow away from the drinking zone, follow them all the way over here, and then you'll see there might be a spot where they branch off or go in another direction, and that'll lead you to a feeding zone. But you can see that they could use a pretty broad area on the map, and these zones could be pretty far apart. So if I knew they were, I don't recall when they rest, but let's say they rest at noon and they drink at 3. So somewhere around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, if I wanted to hunt this of elk, I might put myself along this path or in between here, around 1 o'clock, anticipating that they're going to be done resting at noon and make their way all the way over to here to drink at 3. And so as they're coming along that pathway to make their way over to drink, I'll be able to hunt them. Looks like it's going to be another black bear eating zone. Sorry, moose. But you're safe. I'm not hunting right now. Wood bison, drinking rarely. It can take a fair amount of time, but it is definitely worth your while. Try and do as much of this as you can up front. What do we have here? A black bear. Yeah, looks like a pretty good trail. This will likely lead us to another zone. We just found some drinking zones, and we found some feeding zones, so this will likely lead us to a resting zone. So there's a zone over here. Let's see what this is. This looks like it's not related to the bear. A wild duck. These are going to be duck again. Like that. And this could be the bear. Yeah, right here. Eating. Okay, so we found another eating zone, the bear. So following those trails will help you identify the zones and help to plan a hunt. Another quick tip to share is with respect to driving. I am not a very good driver of these vehicles. I can't seem to control them very well. Another YouTuber who watched my channel made a comment that it's probably easier, or it may be easier, to drive some vehicles in games in first person. So you can change your camera view. So you can see the letter C there to change the camera view. So I can change to first person. Now for me, I've tried it. I don't find it any easier. Matter of fact, it tends to make me a little dizzy. So I do kind of prefer the third-person view like this. But some of you might find it easier to drive in first person, and so just using the letter C to change your camera view will change your view back and forth. The other thing that I noticed is you can go into your controls and go into the game selection, and controls, down to vehicle, and you can adjust your steering sensitivity. And I thought it would be easier to steer if I lowered my steering sensitivity, and I had it down to 40, and I was having a lot of difficulty driving. I messed around with it, and I'm finding I think 100% is probably the easiest. You may find it easier at another level, but I find having it at 100% is easier for me. And basically what that does, you know, use the W key to move forward and the S key to move backward. But what I try to do is just tap as I go and just try and keep it on the road and just tap to make adjustments in the direction you're moving. And what I found is the steering sensitivity, the higher the number, the quicker it reacts when you tap. Oh, there's some bison I just scared off. Let's chase the bison a little bit. So when you tap, if you have a lower number, when you first tap the S and D button to steer, a lower number will take it longer to react to that tap. Oh, there's a whole herd of moose. And there's some more animals across the way. Boy, plenty of animals around here. Too bad we're not hunting, we're talking about driving. So the lower the number, the longer it takes for the vehicle to react to the change in direction when you hit the S or D for steering. Nice. And you don't want to do that. I've been stuck like that before. But here's another tip. If you get your vehicle stuck like this and you can't get off, what you can do is travel back to your base, to your cabin, or if you can get to any parking lot, and you can recover your vehicle at any parking sign. Interact, spacebar to recall the vehicle, and it's back here. So getting back to the steering, the lower the number, the longer the reaction is, the longer the vehicle takes to react to your pressing the buttons. The higher the number, the quicker it reacts. I find 100% works well for me. Another little quick tip is when you want to restock your ammo or change weapons, you can do that right from the rear of the vehicle. So I can change haulers if I want. So I can go to we're here to callers, and I can change my elk collar to my jackrabbit collar. I can change my weapon, whichever firearm I'm carrying, and it also restocks all of your ammo. So if you're near your vehicle and you're hunting and you're out of ammo, you can just reload all of your ammo just by going into your inventory and coming out. Well, another little tip is using the UTV as a hunting stand. Obviously, as you can see, the UTV is nowhere near as tall as a hunting stand, and some hunting stands are taller than others, but it's about a third of the height of a hunting stand. Unique to the UTV, you can't do this with a Jeep, but if you have a UTV, you approach it from the front end using the space bar. You can jump up on top of the hood and then get up on top of the UTV. I am standing on top of the UTV. And I'm about, at this height, about half the height of the hunting stand. Where this works somewhat well is you're going to set up at a certain point, and let's just say, let's go down here. I'll park it right here. Okay, so here, obviously, can't see over this hill. Right. From this position, I can't see over the hill. So get up on top of the UTV. Now I can see over the hill. So if you want to park it behind a small rise, and it gives you some vantage point to be able to see over that little hill or over that little rise. I don't know how much of a difference that makes as far as the animals being able to see you or sense you, you know, from a visibility standpoint or from the animals' ability to detect you. I have had some success hunting by standing on top here and being able to see over the rise. If animals were coming from this direction, I was able to sit here and wait for them, and as they got closer, I was able to see them, stand up, and have a clean shot over the hill. So, they didn't see me when I stood up when I was standing on top. So, I've had some success with it, and try it. Might work for you. Another small tip is with marking. When you're using your binoculars or your rifle. So there's two different types of markers. So the red one they call an exploration marker, and the blue ones they call tracking markers. The exploration marker, you can only have one on the map at a time. The tracking markers, you can have as many as you like. As you can see, I've got showing here. To remove a marker, use your space bar, and that will take it off. Same with the tracking markers. You can remove one, or you can hover over and hit the letter T and remove all. So here, if I'm in map mode and I hit C, I can add as many markers as I want. If I want to remove them all, just hover over T and you'll see they're all gone. So you put one back there. And you can also add markers with your binoculars or with your rifle scope. So I'm looking through my binoculars and I want to put an exploration marker. I can hit the X button, just tap it, and I get the exploration marker. And I can move it just by tapping it, moving it wherever I'm looking, but as you can see, I can only have one at a time. If I want to put a tracking marker, a blue tracking marker, I press the X button and hold it. Now I get blue tracking marker, and I can do that many times as I want. You can also do that with your rifle scope. So take out my rifle and I hit the button. See, I can put the exploration marker wherever I want, or I hold it, I can mark with a tracking marker. And this is particularly useful when hunting. So if you take a shot and shoot an animal, and you'll see if you have a good hit, you'll see when you hit the animal will jump, and you'll get a blood spattering on the ground. Just mark where you took the shot, and then if the animal runs, at least you know where your starting point is. You can watch him and watch where he's running, and as he gets further and further away, the last spot you saw him, you can mark that as well, put another marker down. I didn't realize that you could mark with your rifle scope. Put a tracking marker down with your rifle scope. I knew you could do the exploration marker because I hit the button and you could just put the one down, but what's nice to know is you can also put a tracking marker down, and as many as you want. So for example, do that one right there. So you saw the blood. You can see the blood spatter on the ground there. I'm going to hit the X button and put a mark there. And that, I think, is him. Yeah, he looks like he's injured. So there's the marker down there using the X key. Let's go down and see what kind of shot we got. And actually, if it's a bad shot, it'll be a good opportunity to show you, let you know whether or not you actually got a kill or if the animal survived. Okay, so here I am coming up to where I marked. See, my mark is pretty close to where I hit. And I can look at the blood spatter. And, oh, well, the animal is going to expire, but he'll be further away. Medium amount of blood, air bubbles, so it was a lung shot. Now to track it, you want to try to follow the blood trail. And so, see if we can spot some blood splatter around this mark. Here we go. Here it is. And looking at the blood spatter, you can see as he was running, see the splatter goes off in the direction he was running, so you'll be able to tell which way. You see it's thicker down here, and you see the splatters go out in that direction. So now you can know that he was moving in this direction when that blood dropped. And so you move in that direction until you find the next one, and sometimes they tend to change direction, so here we go. And you can see he's still going in this direction. And so we'll follow him out this way. Still going in that direction. We got some zones out here. I'll mark the zones as I go. Bison. There we go. And you know what? I'm going to put a marker right here so that I can go off and mark this zone. Then I can come back to the blood trail. So, continue on. Fair amount of blood. I'm surprised he's still running. Now, if it said, it would tell you at the bottom there where it said the animal will expire, but it may be farther away. Here he is. So it would tell you that the animal survived. So that's an example of using markings after the shot. I hope these tips help. You know, again, nothing earth-shattering. Just a few novice tips I've picked up along the way. You know, that I didn't realize when I first started playing the game, and you know, so these could be helpful. And as you can see, tons of markers on the map there. So clear them off. Hit the T button. Move that. And that certainly improves our view, takes all the markers off the map. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you found this helpful, or if there's other suggestions or other videos you'd like to see along these lines. This is the first time I've ever tried to do a video that talked about tips and hints. Usually I just play the game and record it. But if you found this helpful, let me know. Any other ideas, let me know. Certainly appreciate you watching, and have a great day. Thank you.